darkness.
Sure.
Today's daf is daf Chaf 20, and we are at the bottom of 19b Yutes Summit base, and the Gemara had just said that in the scenario of where there was a needle found inside a cow and it was shechted, that the vessel remains tahar, even though that the needle itself could be tummy, could have been impure, and there's a doubt about that. Nevertheless, we are going to be lenient and say that we can be that the shechting knife is going to be and the hands are going to be tahor. And the Gemara says from here we can see that the azara, the courtyard of the Beis Hamikdash, counts as a space that is considered public domain versus a private domain. Where does this come from? The Torah teaches, and this is an introduction to this section. The Torah teaches that a sota, a woman who was told by her husband not to be in private, not to have her, not to be in a private space together with another man, and she does go into that private space with another man, she becomes a sota. That's considered tuma. She becomes tameh, as the Torah says, and really it's a doubt, safek tuma. It's a doubt of whether or not nitmes, she became tameh, meaning she had sexual relations with that woman or not. And sorry, that man that she was with, and or not. And nevertheless, in spite of the fact that there is a doubt whether or not she had relations with that man, we are strict. We are, because of the warning and whatever it may be. But since it was in private, that counts as a suffix, a place of doubt that you're going to be strict. So we see, however, if they were not together in a private place, they were together in a public place, then we can be lenient. So we see this concept from there, and this is something we learn throughout all tuma, that suffix tuma, if there's a doubt of whether or not there is a tuma happened, whether we don't know whether the vessel touched the tuma, the source of tuma, the primary source, or whether the primary touched, whether that touched the next level. In any case, if there's a doubt of tuma, if it's in a public place, and just as over there, it's minimally 3 people, so too here, if there are 3 people, if it's a place that 3 people would be, that counts as a public place. And if there's a doubt of tuma in a public place, you can be lenient, just as we see at Sota. And therefore, in this case, where the azara counts as a public space, you can be lenient. You can be lenient. And even though there's a doubt whether or not there was tuma, you have a right to be lenient. There's another halacha that we learn from there, that the source of the tuma can be asked, can be spoken to, and say, by the way, what is the status? Did you or did you not become tummy? Just as over there, the woman can be asked, did you or did you not have relations with that man that you were in private? So this is called that there's yesh bo da'as lishoyel. It's something that can respond to a question, that has an understanding, and can tell us whether or not they became tummy. So the Gemara says, Amar Rav Ashi, and this is about 8-10 lines from the bottom of 19b, Yutes Summit base. Amar Rav Ashi says, Amaris azara rishus harabim. The azara counts as a public space, and therefore there's a doubt whether or not this needle can cause tuma or not. That we can be lenient because it's in a public space. And any tuma in a public space, in doubt, you can be lenient. So the Gemara now challenges and says, wait, but it's missing the second component. And therefore, even in a private space, you could be lenient. But if it was in a private space, then indeed, in doubt, you would have to be strict and say that it became tamei. Look, let's analyze this. This needle is actually something that we cannot ask and say, hey, did you or did you not become tamei? And anything that does not have the ability to be asked, and we can't say, needle, did you become tamei or not? Or did you make the knife tamei or not? We can't ask that, and therefore it should be in doubt lenient. The Gemara says, no, you're misunderstanding. It doesn't have to be that the needle, an inanimate object, cannot be tamei in doubt in a private space. Rather, it has to be that there's no human involved in the interaction. Because this tuma is in doubt of whether it was caused by the person holding the needle or holding the knife or interacting with it. So actually, the needle is even though the needle itself is inanimate, and you can't ask the needle, oh, did you become tamei or not? But the needle itself is in the hands of a human, or the knife that is in doubt whether it became tamei is in the hands of a human, and the human can be asked, did you or did you not touch the source of tumah, or did you the vessel? And as such, there is a das lishal. So again, we learned from Sota that in order for that if you have one of two components, either that this is in a public space and there's a doubt of tumah, you can be lenient, or if the tumah itself cannot be asked about whether they became tamei or not, or caused tumah or not, then you can be lenient. It has to be that it would be a doubt of tumah has to be in a private space and can be asked whether it became tamei or not, and they don't know. And so over here, that would be the case. The azara is a public space, and therefore the tumah cannot, in a doubt of tumah, you can be lenient. And even if it was in a private space, you can ask the person. You can ask the person in that's handling the source of tumah, and therefore there is a das lishol. We can ask him, did your knife touch the needle or not? And since he can't answer, that's a suffix tumah in a private space that would have been tamei. Since it's the azara, since the courtyard is a public space, you can be lenient. Rabbi Yochanan, as Rabbi Yochanan said, suffix tumah hababi dei adam. If there's a doubt of tumah, but it comes in the hands of a human, so even though the object itself is inanimate, but it's a human that's bringing in nishalin aleha. And now we're on 20a, Chafam and Aleph right at the top. So nishalin aleha, since we can ask him, and that's therefore it's considered like is something sheyesh b'das lishol, that it's something that could be questioned, and therefore in doubt you can be lenient. In doubt you would be strict if it's in a private space. Afilu b'kli amunach lagabi karka. Even though the vessel is sitting on the ground, meaning it doesn't have to be that the human is actually handling it, but it's in a scenario where he is where he's involved in the tumah process. But rather he's dealing with the tumah carrying, let's say he was carrying out a rodent. He was carrying out a dead rat that he had in the house, and he may or may not have touched to the other vessel. So even though that the vessel that there's a doubt about, there was never a conversation about, and he wasn't handling it, but nevertheless, in the scenario that we're talking about, we can ask the human himself whether or not he had an interaction or whether or not there was a tumah here. That causes, and that would be the primary source of information and the primary source of doubt, because we ask him, did you or did not have the rodent touch that vessel, and he can't answer, and therefore it's kedav sheish b'das l'shoel, and therefore it's like something that you could ask, even though that obviously the inanimate object can't be asked, but he can be asked. Va'basar tummy, and and we saw that the meat would become tummy. So we have this needle in a cow, and the meat will become tummy. So we are in the third line of Chaf Amid Aleph 28, and the Gemara asks, "Hi basa diskasher b'may." We know that food, in order for it to become susceptible to tuma, has to be that a liquid came upon that. It has to be that a liquid came upon that's tuma that came upon the meat in order for it to be susceptible to tuma. Now, in what way did this become susceptible to tuma? What liquid came upon it? So, inema this kasher b'dam. Do we say that it became susceptible to tuma because a liquid came upon it? What, the blood of this cow, the meat? But Rabbi Yochanan had said it. We saw this earlier. Blood of a kachim, of a korban, does not make something susceptible to tuma, and the reason for this is because blood. The reason it does make something susceptible to tuma is because it's like water. And how is it like water? And how is it like water? Because you have to pour it onto the ground. So dam shenishbach kamayim machsher, and it says you pour it onto the ground like water. So but only blood that you're actually going to drain from the animal and throw into the ground. But blood that's not poured on the ground like water, and that is the blood that you have to gather in a holy vessel, a kli kodesh of the kli sharis of the Beis Hamikdash, and you have to use it to spritz the blood on the mizbeach. So that blood is not like water, and therefore it wouldn't make the food susceptible to tuma. So that's out. So the meat did not become susceptible to tuma on the basis of that it had the liquid, meaning the blood, on it. So what liquid did it have? Rather, the meat has to be washed off in the slaughter area of the Beis Hamikdash. They would have tables and they would wash the meat off, and so that water that it was washed off with is what caused, what gives it its susceptibility to tuma. And where it says, "V'amar Rabbi Yesi Rabbi Chanina mashke beis mitbachai ledayin shein dachein ela she'ein machshirin." It says actually, not only we saw earlier that not only are the liquids of the slaughter area themselves tahor, but they wouldn't make anything else susceptible to tuma. So we already saw that Rabbi Yesi Chanina said the liquids of the slaughter area are not going to cause susceptibility to tuma. Ella diskasha b'chibas hakodesh. So rather, this is something we saw earlier, that there's a concept that the preciousness of kodesh, of something being part of the Beis Hamikdash, the respect that we give to it, that value of something being kodesh, makes something more susceptible to tuma. It gives it a special din. We saw Rabbi Akiva said that two pieces of bread that are not touching each other, but they're inside a vessel, the chibas hakodesh, is going to give it this respect, and the value of the kodesh is going to make it as if it's all one. Various halachas of chibas hakodesh. So here too, it's true the meat did not have a liquid. And even though generally you say a liquid has to come onto it in order for it to be susceptible to tuma, here chibas hakodesh, the value and the honor, the level that we have to maintain this, is such that it's susceptible to tuma, even if it never had a liquid on it. The Gemara says, that would be okay if we understood this to just make it invalid itself. However, in our scenario, we were looking to not only have it become tummy, but make other things tummy as well. But lemimni beirisham asheni nami. But would it also cause other things tummy? So you can count a first level and a second level tuma from it as well. And if you say that, well then tifsha debay Rish Lakish. And if so, we can answer a question that Rish Lakish said. Tzricha menachos, manu by Risha v'sheni olay. You have the meal offerings, which was heavily flour with a little bit of oil, and you had to mix that. And there were often, it could be a clump of flour that had no liquid that got to it. So you mix in the oil, and the Kohen's mixing the flour and oil. There's a lot of flour, a little bit of oil, so it becomes, it's still very dry. And there's a clump in the middle, as often will happen with flour, that the liquid is around it, but in the center of it is all dry flour. And so if you have one of those, and the outside became tummy, do we say that inside over there is a second degree, inside that bubble of flour? Is that a first or second degree tumah? Or do we say, no, it was never susceptible to tumah because the liquid didn't come onto it? One second. So that's the end of the question. So if that's the case, why do we answer the question? Chibas HaKodesh, of course it becomes tumah, because we just said that anything that something that's kodesh, something that's holy, the chibas hakodesh, the honor and the reverence, the respect, the value for kodesh is such that it's susceptible to tumah, even though no liquid came onto it. And from the fact that the question was asked and not answered, oh, chibas hakodesh, we see that that's not true. Chibas hakodesh will only cause something to become invalid itself, but it wouldn't make it tummy to the level that it can cause tumah to anything else. So we've now tried 3 ways that this meat became susceptible to tumah, and in all 3 we say actually it wouldn't work. The blood, no, that wouldn't work because it's the blood that has to be gathered in a vessel and poured on the mizbeach. So that blood is not nishbach al haaretz kamayim. It's not like water that's spilt onto the ground. We tried that the rinsing of the meat. We said no. The rinsing of the meat is a part of the Beis Mikdash, the liquids of the slaughter area, the Beis Hamikdash, and that also, the liquids there do not make anything susceptible to tumah. We tried that maybe just chibas hakodesh, it being that it is kodesh in and of itself, it doesn't have to have susceptibility to tumah from liquid. It's susceptible to tumah just because it's so precious and valuable. So the Gemara says, rather we're going to say, Amar Rav Yehuda Mashmuel, in the name of Shmuel. So the scenario, it happens to be a scenario where the animal is wet from nothing to do with the process of the kodesh itself. Maybe this is a shlamim animal, that he brought across a river in order to get into Yerushalayim to bring it. It was a rainy day, whatever it may be. The animal happens to be wet just from walking through a river to get to the Beis Hamikdash. And so, and there's still enough dampness on it that if you touch the animal and then you touch something else, that would feel wet. So that tells you that it's tefeach, or almanas latfiach. That's the level of tefeach. So not not the liquid itself was put there for any reason, but since the animal itself is wet, when the animal was shechted, some of that wetness would have gotten onto the meat and from the outside of the animal, and that's what caused its susceptibility to tumah. So the Gemara now explained how come the meat is susceptible to tumah, and why the needle is why we can be lenient on the vessels in doubt, because the azara, the courtyard, is a public space. The Brisa had said further that if the needle was found in the perish, in the waste that's being created inside the innards of the animal, there it would not cause tumah to the rest of the body, even though that could be a liquid, and it could transfer tuma to a ochel to meat. Nimsas beperesh hakol tor. If then everything is tor. Why? V'nihada perish v'nitami labasa. Why don't they say that the needle makes the perish, the waste inside the body, tummy, and then the waste makes the meat tummy? Amar vada barava beperish ava. It's actually not a liquidy waste. It's a dense waste. It's solid, and if it's solid, it's not going to cause tuma, because then it's not a liquid, which wouldn't cause tuma to meat. Avashi amafilotevim perish racham. Avashi says no, it could even be a liquid. But we saw earlier that the concept of tuma from a liquid in the Torah is written in this way: v'chol mashke asher yishase, any liquid that would be that you would drink, that would be suitable as a drink, that's in a vessel, causes tumah. Itself will be tummy and cause tumah. Well, that means the liquid has to be a drink, a liquid that is drinkable. We saw that earlier in the case of the cow that had the animal that had lapped up some red heifer water, and we said that it became a mashke saruach. So here, for sure, this waste inside, even if it's liquidy, it's going to be disgusting. It's not drinkable, and therefore it cannot cause tumah to anything else, because it itself is disgusting. Tana Kamei Rav Sheshes. It was taught in front of Rav Sheshes. Sheretz metames hamashkin. So he said here. So we've learned all of this, and we learned about liquids. Here's the scenario, and the Gemara is going to then change it. That Rav Sheshes said like this: you have the sheretz, the primary source of tumah, the rodent, metames hamashkin. It would make liquid tummy. Umashkin metames hakli. And we saw that liquids can cause tumah to a vessel, and this would be the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, who said that not only can liquids become tummy on a Torah level, but it can even cause tumah. But not only can it cause tumah, it causes tumah to everything, even to vessels. And as you remember, Rabbi Yehuda retracted that in the end. And so the Gemara is going to scratch this in a moment and say, no, that's not a part of the statement. So, but right now, what he says is that the sheretz causes tumah, so the primary causing tumah to the liquids, and the liquids will cause tumah to the vessel. So that's a second level. And vakli mitame esa'echli, and that will cause tumah to food. Va'echli mitame esamashkin, and the food will cause tumah to liquids. Lamanu shalish tumas b'sheretz. So we learn that there are 3 tumas by a sheretz that it could cause tumah to vessel, to food, and to liquid. But we had liquid at the beginning, liquid at the end. So Gemara says, Hana arbahe. So right now, what you have is 4. It caused, the sheretz caused tumah to the liquid caused tumah to the vessel caused tumah to the food, and the food caused tumah to the drink. And so you're beyond the levels of tumah that you would have here. A third level can make a fourth level tumah. Nobody says that in the pasuk, right? You don't find a fourth level tumah in the Torah. So therefore, goes mashkin dereisha. We have to remove the first liquid, and this is actually the order that the Torah says it. The rodent makes the vessel tummy, as it says that the rodent came into the ear space of the vessel, and the vessel causes the food tumah, which it says anything that's inside the vessel is going to become tummy, and then that food makes something else tummy, like Rabbi Akiva said, because it doesn't say tummy, it is tummy, but rather it says yitama, yitma, which means active tumah, which is yitama. It's going to cause tumah. That is something else, and the spelling tells us that it can cause tumah to the liquid, and so that's the third level of tumah. The rodent to the vessel to the food, and the food to the liquid. So Gemara says, Adarabba goes mashkin to seifo. Well, it said liquids twice, once at the beginning, once at the end. Why are you cutting out the liquid at the beginning, cut out the liquid at the end? So Gemara says, no, because in the end, since Rabbi Yehuda retracted we don't have anybody that holds that liquids can cause tumah to a vessel. In fact, Elo Rabbi Yehuda v'Adarbe, the only one was Rabbi Yehuda, and he already retracted his opinion. V'simanech. So, what is your hint to remember this? Nizyasa, making a barley beer, which is you first have the vessel, then you put the barley in, then you put the water in, and then that's how you make the beer. That's how you brew it. So therefore, this is a reminder of what the order of tumah we have in this sugya. The rodent will make the vessel tumah. The vessel makes the food in it tumah, and the food will make the liquid tumah. Tanan hasa. So we learned over there. This is we're going to continue with this idea of a rodent inside an earthenware vessel. And as we said, an earthenware vessel causes tumah in its airspace. No tumah on the outside, and on the inside, it doesn't even have to touch, just on the airspace. So Tanan Hasam shares and says, we have a sheretz in the airspace of an oven. Their ovens were earthenware, clay, above ground ovens. The bread that's inside that oven is a secondary tumah on a second level. In other words, it's not as if the rodent touched the bread. The rodent in the airspace of the earthenware vessel, it's as if it made it. It's as if it touched, meaning it made the oven tameh, and now the oven, which is a first level tumah, is going to make the bread into a second level tumah. Because the oven itself is the first level. So Rabbi Barava challenged Rabbi and he said, why don't we say that since the airspace is what causes tumah, that means it doesn't have to touch the oven. The rodent is making the oven tameh. Shouldn't we say that the way it works is it's as if it's all one space that's solid. It's a full space, and so when the rodent is in the airspace, it's as if it touches the oven, and so therefore it's also as if it's touching the bread itself, and let the bread be touching the primary. It should be a first level tumah. But you have a pas rishona. He says, no, I can prove to you that that's not correct. The Tani we learned because if that's the case, then even vessels inside an earthenware vessel should be susceptible to tumah. Not susceptible; they should become tumah, and the halacha is not that way. That the vessels inside there do not become tummy, because it should be, but then we turn to Chafam and Beis, and it says Talmud Lemon Kol Asher B'Soicha Yitma. It says if the rodent is inside the airspace of an earthenware vessel, anything in it is tamei. And right after that it says from any food that would be eaten. So you see oichel mitama me'avir klicheres. Food is susceptible to tumah inside an earthenware vessel. And vessels are not. Now, if you say that it's considered as if the rodent it fills this space and it's touching everything in there, so then it should make the vessel tumah as well. The only reason the vessels are not susceptible to tumah must be because a vessel cannot make another vessel tumah. We don't find that anywhere. Therefore, the food inside there is tummy because a vessel can cause food tummy, but the vessel inside the oven cannot become tummy because a vessel, the oven, cannot cause another vessel that's inside the oven become tummy. But if we were to say, like your understanding, that the rodent inside the airspace of the oven means that it spreads itself everywhere and it's directly touching the bread, then it would also be directly touching the vessel, and the vessel should also become susceptible to should become tummy. Since we don't say that, we see that that's not the mechanism here. The mechanism of a rodent inside the airspace of a earthenware vessel is not that it's as if it fills the space and directly touches the bread, but rather the halacha is special in regards to earthenware vessel that even without touch, just being in the airspace makes it tummy. So the earthenware vessel can become tummy that way, but the bread would not become tummy directly from the rodent. Must be that it's becoming tummy from the rodent touching the vessel touching the bread that's inside the oven, and therefore the bread would be a second level tumah. Going back to our Mishnah, and now we're going back to the how we all got here, and this is the conclusion of our section on Tumah. The Mishnah had said that Rabbi Meir said, based on these teachings of that you're allowed to burn something that had become Tameh at a lower level, together with something that had become Tameh with a higher level, you can burn on Erev Pesach teruma that had not become Tameh at all, but you have to burn it on account of that it's almost Pesach, and this is Chametz. You can burn it together with teruma that's already Tameh. And Rabbi Yossi said, no, that's not a good comparison, because in those cases, both are already tummy, and you're just bringing it up to a higher level tumah. But you want to burn something that was never tummy. You're causing its first primary source of tumah. You're causing its first tumah. You can't do that. And then Rabbi Yossi said, and we see this because even Rabbi Eliezer, and even Rabbi Yeshua that disagreed would not disagree over here. And they said that you would burn you would not burn this together. So the question is, what was meant? In Tumah, we would have three levels. Not three levels, three scenarios. We have a scenario where you have something that is not Tameh at all being burnt together with something that is Tameh. We can have something that is Toleh. We're not sure whether it is Tameh, burning together with something that is for sure Tameh. And then you have something that is not Tameh, burnt together with something that may have, but we're not sure, become Tameh. So we have a contradiction here. Rav Chisda Rami Pischa Pischa. Rav Chisda asked a contradiction from Pesach to Pesach. Umeshani, and he answered it himself. Mi Amar Yeshua, and his question is like this: did Rabbi Yeshua really say Shtein Ka'achas, that you can burn both together, meaning you can burn a teruma that is in doubt together, whether it became tameh or not, together with something that is for sure tameh, and that's what in our Mishnah he said that the machlokas between Rabbi Eliezer and Yeshua is on hataluya, on something there is a doubt whether it became tameh or not, that you can burn it together with something that is for sure tameh. Is that really what Rabbi Yehoshua said? Because it doesn't seem that way from the Brisa. We have a contradiction. On Rabbi Yossi, here's the way the Brisa says Rabbi Yossi's response to Rabbi Meir is that your comparison is not a good comparison, because both Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Chanina Skana Kahanim, when they testified that you can burn a lower level tumah together with a higher level tumah, even though that it's going to elevate the level of tumah, that's only because it was already tummy. So what was their testimony about? If it was about the meat, shenitma bevlada tumah, something that was a secondary form of tumah, that you can burn it together with something that's closer to a primary tumah. It's true that Rebbe Chanina Skana Kahanim said that, but that's because both levels were already tummy to begin with. It's just a higher level. Or Imal Hashem, in Rabbi Akiva's case, where we're talking about oil, shenifsal b'tavul yom, that someone who had gone to the mikveh, but the sun hadn't set yet, so there's still certain level tumah there, and it was touched, the oil was touched by someone like that. And he said you're allowed to burn that oil. The Kohen may not benefit from the oil, may not eat the oil, but he's allowed to benefit from the oil. So as he burns the oil, he's allowed to use it as fuel for light, even in a candelabra that itself had touched a dead person. So it's a primary source of tumah, and he's elevating the level of tumah to a great degree. Nevertheless, you're allowed to do it. But there too, but tamei zeh was that tamei. Both of them are already tamei, even though that this was the oil can't cause tumah to anything else. But it is already tamei. It's puzzle. It's invalid. So therefore, I would agree to you that if you know that both of these are tamei, that you can burn them together. However, but you can't burn even something in doubt. For sure, not something that is not tamei at all. Even though it's Erev Pesach and it's chametz, you can't burn them together because you're actively causing tumah. But how can you burn even something that there's a doubt together with something that's for sure tummy? Because what may happen is that you burnt this doubt together with that which is for sure tummy, and heaven knows that in fact, even though we're in doubt, in Shemayim they know, Klape Shmaya Galia, in heaven they know that this actually is not tummy. And you're the one causing the tumah. And the way the Gemara expresses that is Shema Yov Eliyahu Tarin. Maybe when Eliyahu comes and say, when you burnt that together, it actually was not tummy, and you caused a tumah to it. So how can you do that? Umeshani, and then Rav Chisda asked this contradiction from our Mishnah, which says that in a case of doubt, you may burn the teruma together with a for sure tamei teruma, according to Rabbi Yeshua, and in our brisa, Rabbi Yossi says you may not. Well, actually, Rabbi Shimon. Our Mishnah is talking about the opinion of Rabbi Shimon, who is of the opinion that Rabbi Yeshua allowed a doubt to be burned together with a for sure tumah, and his own opinion, Rabbi Yossi's own opinion, is that Rabbi Yeshua did not allow burning a doubt together with a for sure tumah. Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yeshua. So there's two opinions. What Rabbi Yeshua's opinion was. Rabbi Shimon in our Mishnah says a doubt may be burned together with a sure tumah, and Rabbi Yossi says it may not. The Tanya, as we learned, Yud Daled Shechal Yis b'Shabbos. If it's a Friday, Erev Yontiv is a Shabbos. So you're going to burn everything on Friday, not the day before Pesach, but the day before that. Mevarin Esakom Ifnei Shabbos. You burn everything on Friday. V'sarfin teruma tameis tuluyas utaharis. Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir says you can burn all teruma together. Tahar teruma, that means it never became impure. The teruma that there's a doubt if it's impure. Teruma that's for sure impure, that's tamei. You can burn it all together. Rabbi Yossi Amir, Tahar b'fnei asma, tului b'fnei asma, tamei b'fnei asma. Rabbi Yossi says no, everything's separate. The tamei alone, the doubt alone, the pure alone. You have to burn them separately because you can't cause tumah to any of it. However, Amar Rabbi Shimon says no. Lo nechlaku Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yeshua al Torah al Tamei she'en sarfin. Rabbi Eliezer did not say that you can't about the totally pure or the totally for sure impure, that you can't burn them together. You have to burn them separately. And everybody agrees, Rabbi Eliezer would also agree that you can take the pure teruma and burn it together with the doubt. Since there was never an established status of it becoming tamei, you can burn them together, and we don't have to assume that it became tamei. But if you have something that there is a doubt whether it became tamei, and something that's established as tamei, there Rabbi Eliezer says, there Rabbi Eliezer says they have to be burned separately. Rabbi Yeshua says no, since in any case it's already not edible to the kohen, it's already in a state of doubt, a tumah, so you have to burn it. You can burn it together with the teruma tamei. And our Mishnah is the opinion of Rabbi Yossi, not Rabbi Shimon. So Gemara says, what are you talking about? V'hamas nita Rabbi Yossi. Our Mishnah says Rabbi Yossi responded to Rabbi Meir. Hachi kamer Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Meir. This is Rabbi Yossi's response in our Mishnah to Rabbi Meir. I disagree with Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Yossi says, I disagree with Rabbi Shimon, and I say that Rabbi Yeshua wouldn't even allow a doubt to be burned together with a solid tumah. But even in Rabbi Shimon's opinion, who says that you may burn them together, that's only because there's already a doubt. But something that there's no tumah on at all, even a doubted tumah, for sure you can't burn it together because you're the one causing the tumah. That's how he responds to Rabbi Meir. And here's what it says. Afilu Rabbi Shimon v'ali Rabbi Yeshua, even according to Rabbi Shimon's interpretation of Rabbi Yeshua, it says that you can burn a doubt together with the tumah. The Mekel, that he's lenient, he's only lenient because it's already a doubt tumah, and then you can burn it together with something that's tamei. Aval b'tahara, but something that is pure, never became even a doubt of tamei. V'tameya, you're going to burn together with something that's tamei. Like Rabbi Yeshua would not say that. Okay, so that's the end of the clarification of the opinions in Rabbi Yeshua. Now, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Chanina, Rami, Teruma Pesach. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Chanina ask a contradiction from Teruma to Pesach. Umeshani, and I had a response, and we saw this earlier. Miyam Rabbi Yeshua Shtein Kachas. Did Rabbi Yeshua really say that you can carelessly burn the Teruma that is in doubt together with something that is for sure tamei? For a minute, we have a contradiction. Chavya shel Teruma shenol b'safek tumah. I have a barrel of teruma, and there's a doubt of whether or not it became tamei. So now I have the suffix tuma. The kohen is not allowed to eat it, even though teruma is a food for a kohen, but this may be tamei, and he's not allowed to eat the teruma tamei. So Rabbi Eliezer, if it's out in the public, you have to put it in the private and still protect it because maybe it's not tummy. Even though the kohen can't eat it, but you have to protect it from becoming tummy. Therefore, if it was uncovered, cover it. However, Rabbi Yeshua said, even if it was in a private place, in a hidden place, you're allowed to leave it out in the open. And even though it may become for sure tummy, so what? The kohen can't eat it anyhow. And if it was uncovered, you're allowed to uncover it. In other words, you're allowed to passively cause it to be in a space that it may contract tuma by mistake. You don't have to protect it. Normally, you have to protect teruma, but this is already in a state of doubt. It's not edible to the kohen. You don't have to protect it anymore. So grama in, you see that you're allowed to be careless with it. Be a daim, but you're not allowed to actively cause tuma to it. So why, in our case, does he say that you're allowed to take the teruma that's in doubt and put it together with the teruma that's for sure tummy and burn it together? We're going to say our Mishnah is Rabbi Shimon, who says that he allows to cause actively tuma to a doubt of teruma, and that brisa that says that you're only passively allowed to do that is the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Lazar, Rami Truma. However, Rabbi Lazar, he has a contradiction from teruma itself and another halacha that we saw earlier. And he has a response. Even this concept that Rabbi Yeshua says in doubt, passively, you're by carelessness, you're allowed to cause tumah to it. But you can't actively by hand cause tumah to the teruma. Is that really true, Varaminu? Well, what about the case of the wine in the wine press that's falling into a mundane teruma, a mundane wine that's tameh, and you're allowed to take a vessel and save it. Varaminu chavish shel teruma. You have a barrel of teruma shenishbara begas al yana that broke in the upper press area, and it's going to come down the trough into the lower area. And the lower wine pit is full of wine that is mundane, not kodesh, not teruma, but it's tummy. Now, if the teruma comes in there, nobody can drink it. Right now, someone who is impure can drink it because the wine is tummy. But once the teruma comes in, only a kohen is allowed to drink it. And since the teruma becomes tameh, nobody is allowed to drink it, even the kohen. So we look at it like this. Moder Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Eliezer says that im yochel lahatzim men ravius betara yatsa. If you can run and get a pure vessel, and come back and save even one ravius, 3 ounces, let's say, and save some of the wine, go ahead and do that. Because by doing so, you're saving some of the teruma in an edible space, in a kodesh space, and so therefore do that. Even though you're going to lose all the wine that's in the wine pit, there's nothing to do with it. However, if in any case, you're not going to run and get back in time with a pure vessel. And all you have there is a bucket that's tummy. And if you're going to put it in and save the wine beneath by catching all the teruma wine, that's nice, but you're going to actively cause the teruma to become tummy. So Rabbi Eliezer, so Eliezer says you have to let it happen. You cannot cause tuma by hand to the teruma. Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Yeshua says, no, go ahead, put a vessel in and save it. And we responded, there you're going to lose all that wine, and because of the loss, the Chachamim allowed you to do that. Maskef la Rava, and Rava challenged that in our Mishnah you also have a loss of wood because you're going to have to make a separate fire, so that's a loss. For a large loss, a significant loss, the Chachamim said you have to be strict. For a minor loss, they're not concerned. And how do I know that this is a true concept? That we'll have to see Motzei Shabbos. We're out of time. There's davening now. We're going to conclude this section of Kachim, of Tahara, and go back to the second Perek. I wish everybody a Freilich Chanukah, a good Shabbos, and we'll see each other. For Matzah Shabbos, we'll do 45 minutes after.